Hey guys. So I figured now would be a perfect time to address the elephant, well, the special snowflake in the room, and that is feminism, specifically the modern third wave feminism. So this is a really hot topic on the internet, especially right now, especially on YouTube and Twitter. So I figured I should probably address my opinions on that. I am sure you all can probably guess them. But yeah, I figured I would talk about it. I don't have as many points down about this one as I usually do, because I figured I would probably go off on tangents and rant about it anyway. So I figured there's not much of a point, but I got most of my talking points down. So how do I feel about feminism? Well, first of all, I don't like it. I don't identify with it. I don't like it at all. And it's just not something that I want to stand behind. They're radical. Most of them are completely radical. And they don't listen to reason at all. And I know the ones that aren't radical are, those aren't true feminists. It's the no true Scotsman fallacy. But it's BS. I don't care if 90% of the feminists aren't radical and they actually do care about equal rights. I personally wouldn't want to identify with a movement that has people like Trigglypuff and Anita Sarkeesian and Lacey Green and all them type of people. My grammar is completely gone today. Anyway, I wouldn't want to be in a group that has those types of people in it. I just wouldn't. And they're also not about equality at all. They're about female superiority. And this is another point that they'll argue until the cows come home. But I'm sorry, it's true. Females already have equal rights. We get paid the same, as much as you guys want to think that we don't. We get paid the same as men. The exact same pay for the exact same job. As long as you're doing the same job and you're working for the same person, you are going to get paid. And if you're in the same region, because sometimes things vary regionally. But as long as you're in the same workplace, working for the same person, doing the same job, you get paid the exact same as a man. And you can talk to anyone, unless your employer is committing an illegal act. And if that's the case, then you go to the labor board and they will get it sorted out. I guarantee it. But the gap is in the actual salary. Like, how much a woman will make in their entire life is generally lower than a man's. And that's because we take time off to have kids. Once we have kids, a lot of times we won't work as many hours. We'll work part-time or whatever, or only on the weekends or something like that, so that we can stay home and with the kids and be able to cook and clean and take care of the kids and whatever. So we don't work as much in our lifetime as men in general. And we also don't usually have as high paying jobs as men. So that's where that comes from. So yeah, there's no actual wage gap. It's just a gap in how much is made in the total of their entire life. And it's not because they're being paid less, it's literally because they are working less in their life. So that's me debunking the wage gap. Yeah, and also it's like there's so many other things that are actually in women's favor, and there's hardly any things that are in men's favor. If a woman goes through sexual assault, everyone cares, everyone takes care of her. It's on the news, it's reported, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes men are not even given any time of day when something happens to them. Like sexual assault, being abused by a partner or by a parent or anyone really. If something happens to a man, it generally isn't taken as seriously as if the exact same crime would have happened to a woman. And that goes for like sexual assault. The man should have liked it, especially if it's a woman raping a man, which can happen. Some people think that can't happen. It 110% can happen. You can forcefully have sex with a man. Just because he has a boner doesn't mean he consents. And feminists say the same thing. They say, oh, just because she orgasms, just because she's wet, like, etc., doesn't mean that she consents. But then they don't say anything about men. They can have a boner, they can even orgasm, and it didn't mean that they liked it. It didn't mean that they consent. It's a whole body thing. It's not connected to the mind sometimes, like sexual feelings and stuff. They aren't connected to the mind sometimes, so sometimes that's why men get boners sometimes when they don't even really want one. They just get one because it kind of has a mind of their own. Anyway, that's a little bit off topic, but again, the man was supposedly liking it because a man should basically be grateful when he gets to have sex. That's kind of like the thing that they are pushing, is that like if a teacher rapes one, like a female teacher rapes one of her kids, even if it's, or like, students, not actual kid, even if it's just statutory rape and the boy thought that he was consenting and whatever, it's still not consensual, and he shouldn't have been he shouldn't be like praised for it, like, oh yeah, go, like if it was a hot teacher or whatever, it shouldn't be like, oh yeah, awesome, because that just makes them confused, and then it makes them not want to say anything, and then it makes them hate themselves because they feel like they should be feeling something that they're not, and it can cause a whole lot of problems. So yeah, that's one of the other things. I don't find feminism helps men. And then they say that, oh yeah, feminism will help men too because toxic masculinity, patriarchy, blah blah blah. But they're not doing anything to help men. The male suicide rate is leagues higher than the female one. I can't remember exact numbers, but I know that it's significantly higher. And what are the feminists doing about that? Nothing? Just making men feel even worse about themselves? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like they just want men to feel awful for daring to have a Y chromosome, daring to have a penis. It's actually awful the way that they feel towards men. For what? Nothing. Just their genitals. Isn't this what we were supposed to be? Isn't this what feminism was originally for? Was to fight so that your genitals don't matter and who you are as a person is what matters? But feminists today, they just think that it should just, the pendulum should just swing completely the other way, and now men should be inferior. And I don't agree with that at all. I I think that we should be equal, and we are, but it's becoming that we're not now, because feminism is changing it and making men lesser. I heard about, I can't remember exactly where it was, I think it might have been in England or Australia, but I can't remember exactly for sure. Apparently in a company, women are now being paid like 8 point something % more, because apparently that's how much more money men were making. So women should just, get that much more money, and it doesn't matter their job, doesn't matter anything. They're just gonna get an 8 point something % raise because they have a vagina. And they didn't even look into their actual jobs and seeing if, all the women are doing the lesser paying jobs. Well, then, they don't look into what they're doing. No, a secretary on the bottom floor, the lobby secretary, should not be paid the same as, the CEO of a company. It makes no sense. So, yeah, men are actually being pushed down, and women are being pushed up now. Whereas we did have it pretty equal for a while, and then women wanted more. They always just keep wanting more. I don't understand what more they want. We get equal pay. We're allowed to work. We don't have to have kids. We don't have to get married. All this, if we get raped, it's, punishable. We have, shelters. If we got abused or whatever, we can go to them. There are hardly any men's shelters. In my city, there's one men's shelter. There's at least 2 for women. One for women and kids who were in abusive relationships, say the father was abusive. And then there's another one just for homeless women. So there's 2 women's shelters in my city. And it's a pretty big city. It's probably 100,000 people. And there's 1 men's shelter. 1. Now, why? I mean, that isn't that extreme, but I'm sure in bigger cities it's even worse. There probably is 1 or 2, whereas there's probably 3 or 4 women's shelters. Also, if you look on the internet and you look up women's shelters in your area, and you find a website for a women's shelter in your area, there's probably going to be tons of information on it. Probably going to get a phone number, I just hit the mic. You're probably going to get a phone number, information, all this big write-up and all kinds of stuff, so that you can actually really think about your decision to go there, or, that there is help for you. Men's shelters, there's usually hardly ever any information. Maybe a couple of the names of the people who own it. Maybe a phone number. But women's shelters get, email addresses for people you can, message and talk to and whatever. But I find men, it's men aren't supposed to have any feelings. They aren't supposed to feel any trauma. They're supposed to get over it. Same as, if a man comes forward about being abused, he gets laughed at or just dismissed. Whereas a woman, it's a big sob story. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a very sad story. It should be. But it should be for a man, too. So, that's another reason. That's kind of all the reasons that I'm not a feminist, because it isn't fighting for equal rights. It's fighting for women to be more equal. They want women to be more equal when they're already equal. There's no... What are you fighting? Like, the fight is over. Feminism already had their fight. They fought for women's rights, and after women got their rights, the fight should have ended, and feminism should have been hung up. It should have been framed and looked back on and admired for the bravery of the women in the time where it was scary to stand up for yourself. But it should have been hung in a frame and admired and not touched again. But for some reason, it's been clung on to. And it's turning, it's poison. And I don't know, I believe in equal rights, and if feminism really wanted to still be around, I would be totally okay with feminism still being around if they were over fighting in the Middle East and the third world countries where there is still like sexism. But there's nothing to fight for in the Western world. Absolutely nothing. Everyone's gotten their rights. Gay people can get married. Women can vote, and they get paid equally. Trans people can get their surgery. I mean, they still face a lot of violence, but still, they have their rights, and if they do face violence, those people are persecuted. So everyone has their rights. If you really wanted to fight for something, go over where people don't have any rights. Where women are just raped and murdered constantly. And nobody really cares. That's where you should be fighting. Not here. Not where there's nothing to fight for anymore. So, yeah. That was a very lengthy video, but I just wanted to get it out there. I don't agree with feminism at all. And yeah, I'll probably do other videos about feminism. It's probably the kind of quote-unquote social justice subject that I feel the most strongly on, because of the fact that I feel like I'm persecuted by feminists because I choose to I like the traditional gender roles, and me and my boyfriend pretty much that's what we do. Like I'm the one who cooks, and I want to be the one to stay home and take care of any like potential children, and just take care of the house. Like that's what I want to do. I don't have a job. I don't want to, or like I don't have a dream job. I don't want to be a career woman. Like my dream is to have beautiful children that I take care of at home. And for some reason feminists hate that. Why? I'm a woman, I'm making my own choice. Why does that scare feminists so much? That I want to just make a choice, and I choose to live traditional, like, quote unquote traditionally. I want to live that way, and why do feminists have a problem with that? It's like they're going back, and you can't have freedom of choice anymore. It's like they're regressing. That I think that's what, like, I just figured out why they're called the regressive left. They're regressing in their progressiveness. They're progressively regressing. So anyway, I just made that video so long. Anyway, I will talk to you guys in a later video. And yeah, keep on fighting the good fight. Bye.